Over the span of nearly 60 years, in a quiet corner of New England, the Blackwood family's legacy unfolded like a Gothic novel no one dared to write. It is a story not found in history textbooks, yet it remains etched into the collective memory of the region, a legacy of grandeur, misfortune, and whispered scandal that passed from generation to generation. To the casual observer, the Blackwoods were paragons of refinement. They attended church in pressed linen, financed the town's library, and were photographed in the society pages alongside governors and shipping magnates. But those who lived in the town of Harrow's End knew there was something else, something the family never spoke of in public, yet which seemed to shadow them at every turn. It began in the year 1812 when Jonathan Blackwood, a man of uncommon ambition and iron will, arrived in Harrow's End. He claimed to have left the bustle of Boston for the serenity of the countryside, but few believed that was the full truth. His fortune had been made in shipbuilding, supplying vessels during the war, and while his name was respected in business circles, there were rumors. None of it could be proven, and Jonathan's charm was such that even his most vocal critics found themselves silenced in his presence. By 1815, construction began on the Blackwood estate, a grand, sprawling Georgian mansion that rose on a hilltop overlooking the valley. Local craftsmen labored for 3 years to complete it, importing marble from Italy, mahogany from the Caribbean, and chandeliers from France. At the center of it all was a peculiar east wing, 3 stories high with its own private staircase and a set of windows that seemed always shuttered. Townsfolk speculated endlessly about its purpose. Some said it was a music room. Others claimed it was a nursery awaiting children who never came. Only the Blackwoods knew the truth. Jonathan's wife, Eleanor, was the first to vanish from society's gaze. By all accounts, she had been vibrant when they married, a skilled pianist, a charitable patron, a woman known for her easy laughter. But within 2 years of moving into the mansion, Eleanor withdrew from public life. Visitors were told she had taken ill and was resting in the East Wing. No one outside the family saw her again. She died in 1820, the official cause listed as a nervous exhaustion. If Eleanor's fate troubled Jonathan, he never let it show. Within months, he remarried, this time to Margaret Hale, a widow from Philadelphia known for her sharp intellect and fearless wit. And yet, in a pattern that would soon become infamous, Margaret too began to fade after moving into the estate. Her letters to friends became infrequent, her public appearances rare. By 1824, she too was gone, buried beside Eleanor under the willows in the family plot. 2 wives in less than a decade. Whispers began to spread through Harrow's End. Some blamed bad luck, others spoke of a family curse. A few bolder still suggested that Jonathan himself was the cause, though whether through neglect, cruelty, or something far darker, no one dared to say aloud. Jonathan lived on until 1831, his fortune and reputation intact. But when his son, Thomas Blackwood, inherited the estate, the pattern began again. Thomas's bride, Clara Whitmore, was young and full of life when she stepped across the threshold of the Blackwood mansion. Within months, she too fell prey to a mysterious decline, fits of paranoia, sudden outbursts, and long periods of melancholy. She died before her 25th birthday. The tragedies continued for decades, spanning multiple Blackwood men, each one marrying women who would, without fail, suffer the same slow, chilling. By the end of the century, 5 wives lay buried in the family cemetery, all having spent their final months sequestered in that same East Wing. The people of Harrow's End had stopped calling it bad luck, they called it the room. It was in 1895 that a local journalist, Samuel Harper, began to investigate. His series of articles for the Harrow's End Gazette painted a damning portrait of the Blackwood legacy. He noted that each woman's symptoms began only after sleeping in the East Wing bedroom, that no servants were ever assigned to that part of the house for more than a week, and that certain corridors leading to the room had been fitted with locks that could only be opened from the outside. When Harper pressed the surviving family members for answers, they dismissed him with a cold politeness. But townsfolk whispered to him of strange odors wafting from the East Wing at night, of muffled screams heard in the small hours, of crates delivered under heavy guard and carried directly upstairs. It would take another 40 years before the truth was finally uncovered, and when it was, it sent shockwaves through the entire state. What investigators discovered was neither curse nor coincidence. It was a deliberate, methodical practice designed to destroy the minds of those unfortunate enough to marry into the family. To this day, no one knows exactly why. Theories abound: inheritance disputes, jealousy, sadistic fascination. But what is certain is that the Blackwoods' wealth was preserved, their secrets protected, and their victims silenced generation after generation. Tonight, we open the locked doors of the East Wing, we trace the lives and deaths of those 5 women, and we follow the trail of evidence that reveals how one family for nearly a century concealed a truth too dark to speak.